Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. And you're watching the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin, and it is Wednesday, February 28th. And like every Wednesday, I am joined by these gentlemen on the other side of me, Mr. Sean Higgs and Jesse Schule, all three of us of gamblersworld.net, which is our sponsor site. It's there, folks. You'll not only find us three with our best premium paid selections on a daily basis, but also 7 other great handicappers as well. And we guarantee our plays over at gamblersworld.net. And what that simply means, folks, all single game and multi-game daily packages, as well as subscription plans of 30 days or fewer. If you don't win, you don't make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount in which you paid out of your pocket for that specific package. So there you have it, folks, gamblersworld.net. And also, folks, don't forget, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, take a second to do so. We've had a loyal following here. We were just discussing off air. Better than close to 2,400 views on each of our last 3 college basketball shows in February, which we're quite pleased on a small channel like ours. But there's plenty of you out there that are interested in what you're hearing on the show, and we appreciate that. But if you have not subscribed, take a second to do so. It's absolutely free. There's no charge, no strings attached. And all you need to do is hit that black subscribe button, or if you're on your PC, hit that WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your page. And for those of you who have subscribed, which we appreciate each and every one of you, and new subscribers, take an extra second or two to go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts going up and being published here on our great channel. Don't forget, every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, with these 2 gentlemen and myself, we go live, and that gives you an opportunity to chime in with all your questions and comments. And we're really pleased with the turnout we had the last 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. So, all right, without further ado, Jesse, my man, how are you? They're picking on you, Jesse, in the comments section, talking about
okay,
why
you.
And I know you're prepared to talk about it, and I won't steal your thunder, but one gentleman is attacking you for taking the Kentucky and Auburn or Alabama game under 174, and his adage is it's that high for a reason when it's a total. I always say that too, but that doesn't mean you should automatically go over either. So
Before you want to pick on somebody, you should probably have a look at the leaderboards as well and see who you're picking on. How am I doing, Ross? I swept the board yesterday. Feel pretty fortunate, actually, because it was a crazy day yesterday. The home teams got slaughtered. Home favorites, man, it was there was a lot of ugly action out there. I don't think your average bettor did very well yesterday. So I feel fortunate to have dodged a bullet there, came out with a few winners. As far as betting on unders, I'm looking at another under today, and I'll get into that when we start giving out picks. But I'm feeling pretty good about yesterday's results, feeling confident, and enough criticism from the peanut gallery.
Yeah, look at folks. There's no no-brainer solution. I play a lot of college basketball totals, and my record speaks for itself as well. And I could, I'm defending Jesse because he's a friend of mine. B, because he's a trusted colleague, and C, because I respect the hell out of his results. So at the end of the day, folks, we're not going to win every pick we put out, whatever category that may be. And to say, well, the total is that high, it's not like Jesse sees a total of 165 or greater and bets the under every time. And remember, these are assigned picks. So just because Jesse picked that game to go under last week doesn't necessarily mean that's one of his premium paid selections. It's an assigned game, and he's giving you his best opinion in terms of what he thinks may occur in that specific game. Doesn't mean it's one of his best picks of the day. And Sean, I think people lose sight of that. We want to win on these free picks, but also they lose sight of the fact that we sell our picks, our best picks, for a living, and as well as betting on our games. But anyway, Sean, how goes it for you, my friend?
So real fast on the total. So I had a lose yesterday in a total. I had Kentucky under the 156.5, which totally went crazy at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not a huge total guy in college basketball. 28-16 at 61%. I just counted up real fast. I had 26 unders out of those 46 games. So, it is sometimes you could win with unders. And how goes it for me yesterday? Well, let's just say I had Wyoming plus 5.5, lose by a half in overtime. That was wonderful. Jesse mentioned home teams getting destroyed. I did have Kansas. Winner in NBA total with the under Warriors, and I split. I went 1-2 in hockey. Split a pair of big plus money puck lines and lost an underdog. So it was a losing day. But what am I going to do? On the flip side of that, we talk about free picks. Midday money 5-1 with college basketball picks in the Midday Money Show. 9-2 run in there, but yet on the premium side, it's a 500 day. Like what? It's one of those things. You like games. Are you good enough to bet them? Is it on that level? As you said, you can't give everything out for free. The frees are really strong, but they're, for me at least, I don't give out a free play unless I really like something. I have 0 free plays for today right now because short of this game that we got, I really like the board. That's just the way it is. I don't know. Some days you love it, some days you don't. They're like what was that Almond Joy? Some days you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joys, and was that commercial back in the day? I don't know.
You're older than, well, no, you're not older than me. Anyway, I don't remember that
take
one.
Take it easy there, Grandpa. What are you doing?
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to be discussing 3 games today. I'm going to be looking at
Jesse, Google that commercial. What is that?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. South Carolina and Texas A&M I'll be covering. Jesse will be looking at Auburn and Tennessee, and Sean will be looking at Alabama and Ole Miss. So 3 SEC matchups, good ones as well. So yesterday I went 2-0 at my college basketball totals, and I'm going to blow my own horn here, folks. Over the last year or so, there's nobody. I can't imagine there's anybody better than me in college basketball totals right now. And it's the proof's in the pudding. It's all documented. Matter of fact, 70, where are we here? 76-42 with my last 118 college basketball totals. That's good for 64%. And then also NBA top plays. I cashed again last night with the Miami Heat -7. So a nice 40-21 run with my NBA top plays. Those are 4 units and above, 66% there. My NBA sides, 69-46, exactly 60% over my last 115. So I went 3-2 yesterday. And, guys, one of those days where I needed overtime on a couple favorites and didn't get there. Mississippi State, which Sean had the free pick on the other side. Kentucky hits a shot with 0.5 seconds left in regulation to win by 2. And then Colorado State comes from 7 down in the last minute of the game, ties it. And with 2.5 seconds to go, Nevada calls timeout, and a guy hits a better than half-court shot. So at the buzzer to win by 3 for Nevada. The Mountain West Conference. I'm really so impressed with them this year. Anyway, let's get to our picks. And let's start with Sean. And Sean, Alabama and Ole Miss. Alabama coming off that terrible lot. Well, not terrible. Yeah, I guess you could say terrible because of the lopsided nature against Kentucky. And now they travel on the road to Ole Miss, and the sports books are the odds makers, I should say, undeterred, as Alabama is a sizable 5-point road favorite in this matchup. It's not like Ole Miss is a terrible team, and the total must be high for a reason, right, Jesse? 166.5. But anyway, Sean, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy and Mounds. I had to go look it up. Let's go. Let's get the sponsorship for the 1987 commercial there. You should remember that 1987. That's I was a young teenager. That commercial would come on.
Yep.
Anyway, sometimes I feel like taking Alabama -5.5 or 5, and today I do. I don't feel like not taking them. I had a dog in a spot with Baylor on Monday night. I had a Kentucky spot yesterday, same kind of spot here. Are we going to run to take Ole Miss, who've lost 5 or 6 and 2 or 3 at home, versus an Alabama team, granted 6 and 7 on the road, and they have 8 losses overall, off a shellacking? You give up 117 in college basketball. Would that be equivalent to like a 155 or 160 in the NBA? Like, what is that equivalent to? Giving up a 56 spot, right? I mean, like a crazy amount of points. I mean, and you scored 95 yourself too. It's not like you didn't score anything. But I look at this team's overall resume, as we like to say. You had a loss against Ohio State on a neutral way back in November on the 24th. The next day, they followed that up with a neutral win against Oregon. Losing at Purdue on a neutral, not bad. Arizona neutral, I don't think that's a bad loss. Beating Creighton or losing to Creighton, is that a bad loss? Tennessee, I mean, none of those teams are Ole Miss-esque. Maybe if you want to throw Oregon and Ohio State and that kind of lower level teams back a week or two into the season starts, that's fine. But where have those teams gone from to where this team is now in Alabama? I will lay the points here, and I'll feel confident. Again, Ole Miss dropped 2 of their last 3 at home. This is a better team off a terrible performance. I mean, that's just a bad – that's where you take a team like this. Okay, they're on the road. I know they have the road losses. We've preached take those home teams in spots like this. I can't, not in this spot. This is one where if it's, to me, looks a little too good to be true, I'm not doing it. Again, if this was at 3 or 2.5 and went up to 4 or 5, I'd say, all right, I'd be looking the other way. Much like the Kentucky game yesterday, 2 up to 4 or 4.5. You're like, let's get out of control here. This one opened at this number. I like it at this number. Alabama to redeem themselves here on the road.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at an Ole Miss team. I said they're not horrible. They're not. But,
no.
I mean, they're 19-8. But the bottom line is that they started the season 18-3. And they didn't play a really formidable non-conference portion of their schedule. They've lost 5 of their last 6.
Like most teams. So, you can't knock. A lot of teams play not super schedules. They get a little, they fluff it up a little bit, have maybe a tough game or 2 in there that they say, oh, look at this. Oh, they had a win on a neutral here in some kind of tournament. Well, compare that to your Purdue's and, Alabama for say. So, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the
Ken Pom rankings, their 2 best non-conference wins were against North Carolina State and Memphis on their home floor. And North Carolina State has just fell apart down the stretch. And Memphis started strong, and they've really tailed off of late. And they're in jeopardy of not even making the tournament unless they win their conference tournament. So, in any event, Jesse, what's your thoughts?
I'm a firm believer that as the calendar gets closer to March, you have to pivot and change your style of handicapping. And if you're falling in love with these systems and spots, like the one we've talked about a lot is the unranked home teams versus ranked opponents. And a lot of people are blindly betting on spots like this. I think you got to be careful about that because as we get to March, you start to look more for just the better team going to win these games, especially when they're so significant. I mentioned it a couple of days ago. Don't step in front of the Blue Bloods at this time of year. And yeah, I'm going to agree with Sean. I think Alabama bounces back in this spot. I don't think Ole Miss has what it takes, and I don't think they're going to catch them napping. At this time of year, you're not going to catch them napping. As far as the total, big total in this game, I do think you look more toward unders at this time of year, but not in this spot, not here, not now. So I'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah, Alabama, number 1 in adjusted offensive efficiency and also number 1 nationally in offensive tempo, which means they play at a frenetic pace. So to Jesse's point, also is an example of what Jesse just said was the Mississippi State and Kentucky game yesterday. Yeah, it went right down to the wire. Kentucky came out on top, but That was a Mississippi State team that was a 3.5-point favorite, unranked Mississippi State team against the number 16 team in the country. And, that system we've been talking about up until the last week is really held up quite well throughout the course of the year. But again, Jesse's saying it's time to pivot. And I am going to pivot. I'm going to pivot back to Jesse and ask him what he thinks of the Auburn and Tennessee matchup tonight, because Tennessee is a 6.5-point home favorite in the total 152. Jesse, take it away.
Well, it will surprise nobody that I'm going to have a look at the total, because I was able to get a 152.5 earlier, but I believe now it's settled at 152. To me, that looks like a pretty high number. And I'm going to ask you guys, do you guys know what the score was last February when Auburn played at Tennessee?
No.
46-43.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about the score at halftime. That was the score in the game, 46-43. The total has gone over the number in 8 of the last 10 head-to-head meetings. But if you dig a little bit deeper, the highest number in the last 7 head-to-head meetings was 146.5, significantly lower than this number we see today. And in any of those 7 games, they didn't combine for 150 points. I talked about pivoting. I talked about changing your style as the calendar shifts closer to March. And we did get a comment in the comment to yesterday's video. Why does Jesse keep on betting unders in these high totals? Doesn't he know these totals are high for a reason? And yesterday's Kansas BYU game was a fine example of why. But I've got more data for this gentleman. As I mentioned, these games are more significant at this time of year. And as evidence of that, a lot of people will remember in last year's tournament, the first round of the NCAA tournament, the totals went 33-11 to the under in the first 44 games. And those totals were already significantly lower than what you would see in a regular season game, because the bookmakers know the tournament games are lower scoring. And more anecdotal evidence, I pulled up the schedule for this calendar date last year, and I'm going to read you the scores of the 7 games that involve top 25 teams. We got Texas Tech losing at Kansas 63-67. Bear with me. We got Butler losing at home to Marquette 56-72. We got Arkansas losing at Tennessee 57-75. Clemson losing to Virginia 57-64. Iowa beating Indiana 90-68. We got San Diego State losing at Boise 60-66, and Texas A&M beating Ole Miss at Ole Miss 69-61. So that's this date, today's date, 1 year ago. And as you can see, the majority of those games were falling below 140. And, that's a small sample size, sure, but that's exactly what I expected to see when I looked at that date. As I said, you expect defensive intensity to increase when there's only a few games left on the calendar and everybody's trying to either make the tournament or get one last lick in while they have an opportunity to do so. So my play for this game is going to be under the 152.
All right, Jesse likes Auburn and Tennessee under 152. And for those of you who question why he does what he does, you could see the homework he put into giving you a viable answer to why you question him. And again, folks, at the end of the day, you look at somebody's overall record over a long period of time, and Jesse has proven time and time again, he wins on a consistent basis, not in small sample sizes, but over a long period of time. And that's why he's one of the best in the business, as well as Sean Higgs as well. I look at this game and people, I guess, I would say based on the analytics, this is a really high number. Tennessee and Auburn are 1-2 in terms of defensive efficiency within SEC play. So they're the best defensive teams in terms of those analytics. And then nationally, okay, Tennessee ranks number 2 nationally and Auburn number 5 nationally in defensive adjusted defensive efficiency. So again, it's not like either one of these teams plays at a frenetic pace. I mean, Tennessee is number 5 in the SEC in terms of offensive tempo, and Auburn is number 7. So they don't play slow down basketball by any stretch of the imagination, but they don't play at the same rate as, for example, in Alabama, Sean. So, Sean, what's your take on this?
You're muted, Sean.
That's what happens. I drink my soda and I turn my mic off. I think you have to – I agree with what I said about pivoting as the season moves on. And I've kind of moved a little bit the last few days, taking teams like Kentucky and Baylor and things in this spot. So I like that part. I like what he said. You bring up last year, and people are like, well, that doesn't make a difference. Well, it does, because that's how teams play. That's why they're in the top 25 and jockeying for a position in their conference here to see if they could get a 1, 2, or 3 seed, better spots like that and wins. This is what good teams do. Like, wow. Don't be fooled by and we say that all the time when it's that high. It's like, you kind of got to go with that. That's fine in December. That's fine in the September NFL game. The calendar changes and the cream rises to the top. You got to adjust things. That's what separates the men from the boys, as they say, right? It's kind of like you got to move on, get out of your comfort area and look deeper than just the last 4 games. Well, that's fine. The last 4 games. Let's talk about today's game, folks, and what it entails. Great by Jesse there, bringing up the last year's games, similar ranked teams, and of course the home matchup here and how they played against each other. Good stuff, Jess. I'm with you on the under. I like it. Although I do like Tennessee as well. I'm like, at this point, I'm all for better teams start winning. This is where you kind of separate.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty heavy line for this matchup, and when that happens, I'll usually go for the favorite. Because I think they're really trying to entice you to take the underdog Auburn Tigers at +6.5. So be careful there, folks. When you see a line like this and you say, wow, these look to be 2 very good, evenly matched teams, yet one of them is a 6.5-point favorite, your antennas should go up. And by, at the same token, you'd be looking at possibly a pick 'em to Auburn being -1 at home. So that should tell you something right there in itself. All right, so let me get to my game. Another SEC matchup, South Carolina at Texas A&M. Guys, Texas A&M -5 and 134. And I thought about this a long time because this looks like one of those tricky situations where you got an A&M team that's 0-4 in their last 4, a couple of really bad losses, one of which came at the hands of Vanderbilt. And they're taking on a ranked team at South Carolina yet. I mean, a head-scratching Texas A&M -5 in this matchup in 134. I am going to stay away from that because just for the reasons that Jesse and Sean just alluded to, and Jesse specifically with pivoting at this time of year. I'm going to look at the team total for Texas A&M here, which is 69.5. This is an A&M team, like I alluded to. They've lost their last 4, but specifically in their last 3 games, they're averaging a shade under 66 points per contest and shooting an abysmal 33% from the field. And this is a South Carolina team that's allowed 65 points or fewer in 9 of their last 10 games. Yeah, they had that one terrible defensive game at Auburn, in which they were blown out and gave up 101 points. But other than that, in the other 9 games they played in the last 10, they have been shut down defensively. And another key, too, is I look at field goal attempts in specifically in this matchup, South Carolina, the field goal attempts that the opposition has had against them. And I always look at anything under 60 field goal attempts is either a moderate to a slow pace. And South Carolina opponents have 58 field goal attempts or fewer in each of South Carolina's last 8 games. And you look at A&M, they're number 10 out of the 14 teams in the SEC in terms of offensive tempo. So they don't play at an extremely high pace. Even though A&M is number 1 in offensive adjusted efficiency in the SEC, their 2-point and 3-point shooting is dead last in the SEC. So they don't shoot the ball well at all. And South Carolina last in the SEC when it comes to offensive tempo. I just mentioned how they slow other teams down. They don't play at a fast tempo themselves. Here's another key factor. A&M averages 25 free throw attempts per game during SEC play, and it accounts for 24.2% of their team score, team points scored, I should say. So 4.2% of the points they score in SEC play are from the free throw line. However, South Carolina is first in the SEC in terms of free throw attempts allowed. So I'm not going to say they're going to hold Texas A&M to 14 or 15 free throws like they're allowing right now, but I think that it'll be like in the high teens, and that's going to take away a team that already struggles to score. Taking away those opportunities with the clock stopped is paramount. And South Carolina, by the way, they allow only 17.4% of their points they allow come from the free throw line. So that tells you right there. And by the way, Texas A&M, even though they get to the free throw line a lot, they're at 68.5%. Not a very good conversion rate when they get there. I'm going to go Texas A&M under the team total of 69.5 points in this matchup against South Carolina. Sean, start with you.
Well, as I said, I've been squaring it up this week, and I like South Carolina here. How is this? It'd be one thing. Okay, you lose to Tennessee and get trucked by Tennessee. That's fine. Okay, you'll bounce back to that. You lost to Alabama, lose by 25 to them on the road. Okay, that's fine. You were a 12-point favorite to Arkansas at home and lost outright. You were a 8-point. What is this? Who's this other game they lose to? Vanderbilt, 9-point favorite on the road, lose outright. At home, Florida, a 4-point fave, you win by 1. 8-point favorite home versus Ole Miss, you lose outright. 10-point favorite home, you win by 6. Now you're laying 5.5. You've shown no effort in 2 of your last 3 games, and an embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt on the road. Like, how are you? I can't. I'll take a team getting points against a team that's not only lost 4 in a row, but even at home, they don't even cover when they do win. So how are they covering a 5? If they win, they may win by 2. They're not covering a 5. Again, at a 2, 1.5, I'll pick them. Sure. I'll go for the ugly home team. I'm not laying 5.5. I'm not laying points with teams playing bad basketball. It's not going to happen. Not 5.5, not a 5. No, thank you. South Carolina for me here. Let's go.
Yeah, and Jesse, this game lines up and aligns, I should say, perfectly with your pivot theory at this time of year.
No, it's exactly what I'm talking about with that theory. And, even if you want to follow that trend of unranked home teams, even if you want to forget about all the last 4 games for Texas A&M, even if you believe that they're going to get up for this game and turn things around, okay, make them a 2.5-point favorite. But in a game with a low total between 2 very good defensive teams that don't score a ton of points, 5.5 is a pretty massive number, or 5 or even 4, in my opinion, is too many points. I really think South Carolina is the team that's got more to gain here. This is the team that's going to the tournament, and I don't think that Texas A&M has much of a shot of a postseason berth. So what do they got to get up for in this game? I'm struggling to understand the line, and I'm not afraid to take the dog here.
Yeah, there you have it. I mean, these guys have a lean towards South Carolina plus the points here, and I don't blame them against Texas A&M. Yeah, it's the unranked team that's favored, but you know what? Like Jesse said, sometimes you have to pivot, and if we know this statistic about unranked teams and how well they've done against ranked teams, the odds makers do too, and they seem undeterred by this. So I don't know. I am going to agree with you guys, but our official picks. Sean likes Alabama -5 on the road at Ole Miss. Jesse, he's going to go with the Auburn and Tennessee game to go under the total of 152. And my pick in the Texas A&M and South Carolina game is to go under 69.5 on Texas A&M's team total. there you have it, folks. Jesse's voice is still a little rough today, but I'm
I'll
going
hit
to
it.
fill
I
in
got it.
for him.
Smash!
Smash what, Sean?
The like button, please.
Okay. I just want to make sure they know what they're smashing in any event. Smash that like button, touch that like button, tap that like button. Just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast 5 times a week on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe, folks. It's absolutely free to do so. I will be back tomorrow, possibly with Doug Upstone. Not sure yet, but we will be talking NBA basketball tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Sean and Jesse will be back with me on Friday, and it'll be our live show, folks. And we encourage each and every one of you to chime in at that time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll also have 3 college basketball games on Saturday. We'll be giving free picks on, as Jesse will be looking at Kansas and Baylor on Saturday, Sean Marquette and Creighton, and Ross, Tennessee and Alabama. So 3 good games we'll be covering on Friday as well. Until the next time, for Jesse Schule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.